This video is going to be a discussion on beating the offside tactics. It is not a discussion on how to beat the offside trap, although that certainly plays into offside tactics. But more importantly, it is a discussion on how to get behind the back line, given the fact that in soccer, the offside line is applied, and so it presents a sizable challenge for attacking teams, how to exploit that space in behind the back line. So one of the first things we're going to look at is runs through seams in the back line or along the back line in order to get behind the back line. So we have a first clip here of a men's national team having possession in midfield. And we'll freeze it here. We'll see several seams that are opening up in the play. And the first one that we see here is this seam right here. There's two staggered defenders. And we have a run in behind the seam. And generally, 7 times out of 10, the pass goes through one seam and the run comes through the other seam because it's difficult for defenders to see behind them and to see the ball at the same time. There's another seam here that is run through, and here we'll see the ball goes through the initial seam and then through a second seam, and the run comes through that second seam, and this time the run goes through the same seam that the ball does, but since the seam is so big, it works in this case. So there we see them getting behind that seam. Good run and a chance on goal. Here's another seam that develops, and in this case it's the wide seam between the last defending player and the touchline. Generally that is a wide seam, and again the ball is played into that space and behind the defenders, because in this case the defenders are quite high and there's a lot of space in behind. So here we have Heather O'Reilly running into that space. Extra time on that shot. Fortunately, she comes back in this game and redeems herself and scores the game winner. This is the Olympic semifinal. Here's another chance. Here again we have the visual cue of a midfield player having the ball and not under pressure. And there's space in behind, right, the back line. So with those two cues, there's also some space over here. Those two cues, a midfielder in possession, not under pressure, and space in behind the back line. Those are cues that we try to play the ball into that space. So here we're going to see Mia running into that space. But watch what happens. Look what happens as it develops. Mia starts peeling her run away, gaining momentum, and this is going to enable her to beat the defenders into that space. So she looks over her shoulder, seeing the ball the whole time, and there's space developing. She has momentum running into that space and is able to beat the defenders to the ball. It's a very good run. Perfectly timed pass as well. The goalkeeper does well to get her fingertip on the ball. Here's our under 18 national team playing. And again, here's the cue. We have a midfielder in possession, not under pressure. There's lots of space in behind the back line that we can play into. And we have players that can run into that space. Notice what she did. She peeled her run away initially so that she creates a little more space for herself, impacting the defender. Right? It makes it a little more difficult for the defender to see her running into that space visually. The defender loses contact with her. So as the play progresses, here it actually becomes a little more complicated. we've got in front of the ball. This forward is checking back, which causes this defender to stay home there a little bit and marker. Well, and we have another attacker looking to run in behind. There's all sorts of good options for the United States here. This Megan Schnurr is making this run around, putting all sorts of pressure on their back line. So this checking forward and a slashing forward in behind creates a very quite a problem for the German team to defend as we see it progress. That second forward gets the ball even deeper and gets a good chance into the box. Here again, similar situation. We have a midfielder not under pressure, running with the ball in midfield, and we have ample space in behind defenders. So these are all cues to play the ball into space. Again, we have a forward similar to Mia's running a little bit earlier, running along the back line, making sure she stays onside and that she gains momentum to run in behind and beat defenders into the space. Defenders do a good job to recover. Alright, again, here we have good principle of width. This player, his initial starting position is wide, which pulls defenders out of vital spaces. Look at the size of this gap or this seam that opens up for a ball. And again, the run comes through one seam between the defender and the touchline, while the ball goes through the other seam. The ball comes through here through the center seam, and a good chance on goal results. Okay, good recovery run by the defender there again. You have to remember this too, there's no offsides on the throw-in, so this is a rule that's not remembered by many of the players, but all those chances need to be exploited. Now another way to get in behind the back line is runs from deeper midfield spots. Difficult to defend again because it sort of pulls apart back lines, makes them unbalanced. Look at the red team here, Trinidad and Tobago, quite spread out across the whole, almost the whole width of the field. And again, a midfielder not under pressure and space in behind that's open up. But here we see some bigger diagonal balls to get in the back. Again, midfielder not under pressure, back spread up across the field, should be able to exploit that space. Alright, here's a deeper run from midfield, ball over the top. But all the possession leading up to that moment was key. They had no pressure on the ball in midfield. Attackers in good wide spots really spread the defending team out, made it difficult to defend. Here again we see no pressure on the ball in midfield. Here's a run from a deeper spot that's going to get us in behind the back line. Good mobility, really unbalances the defense, makes them spread out. Again, here we go. Same situation. Attacker facing the play, not under pressure. We have a deeper run, an overlapping run from central midfield spot. Gets in behind the backs. This big diagonal ball really opens up a defense. It's difficult to defend. Again, not under pressure. Runs coming from the weak side on the field. It's a very similar situation here. Gets it in behind initially for a good service. Now, when the defense is organized and they're back and there's no space in behind the back line, and there's sort of adequate pressure on the ball or just enough pressure on the ball so the midfield player cannot put a ball in behind the back line. Then what's needed is to play in front of the back line to get closer to the back line so the passes are easier to hit in the smaller seams that are created. So here we have a couple examples of that. All right, sort of a quick possession type thing going on in midfield. Not much time and not much space. Look, initially, when this person is not under pressure, the attackers are trying to run in behind. There are three attackers all sort of looking to get in behind here. But the red defending team reads it well. They're tight, they're collapsed, they're in a really good defensive organization there. They can mark those runs. So now the forwards have to check back in front. And look, the quality of pressure here is a little bit better, so it's a bit more predictable. The defending team can read this ball coming forward. So what is needed is play in front of the back line. So this guy stops, goes back and gets the ball in front of the back line, lays it off for a shot. Play happened very quickly there, but that's what was needed at the moment. Here again, it's from a deeper spot. So the defense is organized. They have all players marked. So here, again, we play in front of the back line in the space that's open in front because the defending team is a lot more compact here. So the spaces aren't as available behind. So what's needed is to play in front. And then we get the ball. Now look, we have the ball here instead of way back where it was initially. Now we're closer and we're able to have a better quality pass that's a lot less able to be read to get in behind. Almost ends up as a good chance on goal. Of course, the defending team to counter this is going to stay in an organized way, allow players to run into offside positions. Here we have two offsides players in offsides positions, but only one of them is going to be judged offsides when he actually plays the ball in that offside position. And it's not judged until he actually plays the ball. Assistant referee's flag comes up that late time. Here on a clearance, we'll see some players offside. See red steps here to keep the offside law going, and the ball was played to that person, and we see the assistant referee's flag going up at that time. Those are some looks at some ways to get behind the back line. I look to play behind the back line when I'm not under pressure and there's space in there and the defending team is unbalanced. I look to play in front of the back line when the defending team is organized, the space is minimal in behind. I need to get closer to that back line. And then my passes look to come through seams. The ball goes through one seam, the run comes through the other. Those are some of the principles of beating the offside tactics.